Welcome to Silent Crime Case, where we unveil the darkest secrets hidden beneath seemingly perfect lives. Today we take you to the picturesque town of Ravenwood, a place where cobblestone streets, charming Victorian homes, and a close-knit community painted the perfect picture of harmony. But behind closed doors, a chilling secret was brewing, a tale of betrayal, obsession, and a crime so calculated it shocked everyone who knew the Harpers. What could drive a husband to poison the very woman he vowed to love forever? What sinister plans lay behind the mask of a seemingly perfect life? And how did a single journal reveal the web of lies that tore a family apart? As we dive into this twisted story, prepare to uncover hidden motives, shocking revelations, and the relentless pursuit of justice that expose the truth. This is the case of Lillian Harper, a name that Ravenwood will never forget. Stay with us until the end as we unravel the mystery piece by piece, revealing the horrifying details of a crime that shattered a family and shook an entire town. This is Silent Crime Case, where the silence of the crime speaks volumes. This is the story of how a husband's sinister obsession shattered a family and shocked a community. Behind the picturesque charm of Ravenwood lived Lillian Harper, a 47-year-old woman adored by neighbors for her warmth and kindness. Lillian was the heart of the community, often organizing events, baking her famous chocolate chip cookies for fundraisers, and always ready to lend a helping hand. Her cheerful demeanor and radiant smile masked the darkness lurking within her own home. Lillian's life revolved around her family, her 20-year-old daughter Sophia, a pre-med student with big dreams, and her husband, Daniel Harper, a man 14 years her junior. The age gap had initially raised eyebrows in the community, but over time the couple had seemed to win over skeptics. To outsiders, the Harper household seemed perfect, a loving family in a storybook town. But Lillian's seemingly idyllic life would come to a tragic end on the cold, drizzly morning of September 12, 2023, when she was found lifeless in her kitchen. Beside her lay an unfinished cup of her favorite chamomile tea. As paramedics rushed to the scene, the community struggled to comprehend how such a tragedy could occur. Was it a heart attack, an accident, or something far more sinister? Little did they know, this was just the beginning of a case that would uncover a terrifying truth. Lillian Harper was the glue that held the family together. Her two-story home on Sycamore Lane was always filled with laughter, the smell of fresh-baked cookies, and the warmth of love. Rebecca adored her daughter Sophia, who had inherited her mother's empathy and determination. Sophia was a bright student at Ravenwood University, aspiring to become a pediatrician. She shared an inseparable bond with her mother, often spending hours talking about her ambitions over cups of tea. Daniel Harper, Rebecca's husband, was a 33-year-old financial analyst. His boyish charm and charisma had once swept Rebecca off her feet. Though their age gap raised a few eyebrows, the couple appeared happy. But as time went on, cracks began to show in their marriage. Friends and neighbors noticed Ethan's growing detachment from Rebecca. He often worked late, traveled frequently for business, and avoided social gatherings. On the morning of October 3rd, Sophia walked downstairs to find her mother unresponsive on the kitchen floor. Panic gripped her as she dialed 911, her hands trembling. The sight of the unfinished teacup and her mother's pale, lifeless body would forever haunt her. When paramedics arrived, they confirmed Rebecca was dead. Initial speculation pointed to a sudden cardiac event, but something about the scene felt off. Detective Eleanor Hayes, a seasoned investigator with over 20 years of experience, arrived to lead the case. Known for her tenacity and sharp instincts, Bennett immediately noted inconsistencies. The house was pristine, with no signs of struggle or forced entry. Yet Rebecca's death felt unnaturally sudden. The teacup on the counter caught Bennett's attention. Could it hold the key to unraveling the mystery? The wheels of a chilling investigation had just begun to turn. News of Lillian Harper's death spread quickly through Ravenwood, sending shockwaves across the town. How could such a tragedy strike in their peaceful community? Candlelight vigils and prayer gatherings were organized in her memory, as neighbors mourned the loss of a woman who had touched so many lives. Lillian's chocolate chip cookies, once a symbol of her generosity, became a bittersweet reminder of her absence. But beneath the outpouring of grief, whispers of doubt and suspicion began to circulate. Detective Eleanor Hayes' investigation was already uncovering strange details. A toxicology report revealed traces of a lethal substance, potassium cyanide, in Lillian's system. The revelation shattered the theory of a natural death. Someone had intentionally poisoned Lillian, turning the case into a homicide. But who could commit such a heinous act? The investigation began to focus on Lillian's closest relationships. Detective Hayes' team interviewed friends, neighbors, and family members, including Daniel and Sophia. Daniel appeared distraught, but his answers raised more questions than they resolved. His alibi for the morning of September 12th was vague, and his demeanor seemed calculated rather than grief-stricken. Sophia, on the other hand, was devastated and cooperative, but even she couldn't hide her shock when she learned her mother had been poisoned. Neighbors began to recall unusual occurrences, arguments overheard through open windows, Daniel's late-night absences, and a mysterious stranger seen near the Harper home weeks before Lillian's death. The idyllic facade of Ravenwood was crumbling, and as secrets unraveled, so did the town's sense of security. How could such evil hide behind the walls of a beloved family home? The answers were still out of reach, but Detective Hayes knew the truth lay closer than anyone realized. As the investigation progressed, Daniel Harper became the primary focus of suspicion. Detective Bennett's team uncovered troubling details about his life. On the surface, Ethan was a devoted husband and stepfather, but beneath his polished exterior lay a history of questionable behavior. Financial records revealed a string of recent debts and large, unexplained transactions. Where was the money going? Ethan's relationship with Rebecca had also been far from perfect. Friends reported that the couple had been arguing frequently in the months leading up to her death. Ethan had allegedly grown cold and distant, often dismissing Rebecca's attempts to spend quality time together. One friend even claimed Ethan had been overheard saying, "I'm done pretending," during a heated phone call weeks before Rebecca's death. Adding to the intrigue, Ethan's internet search history showed disturbing queries about cyanide poisoning. Phrases like, "how to obtain potassium cyanide" and "symptoms of cyanide poisoning" painted a damning picture. When confronted with this evidence, Ethan denied any wrongdoing, claiming the searches were related to research for a thriller novel he had been writing, a claim Detective Bennett found dubious at best. Ethan's alibi for the morning of October 3rd also began to unravel. He claimed to have been at a nearby gym, but security footage showed he had arrived much later than he stated. Witnesses reported seeing Ethan near his home earlier that morning, adding yet another layer of suspicion. As tensions rose, Ethan's carefully constructed facade began to crack. Was he a grieving husband, or a man hiding a sinister secret? Detective Bennett pressed forward, knowing the answers were within reach. But the case was far from over, and darker revelations were yet to come. For Sophia Caldwell, the days following her mother's death were a blur of grief and confusion. Losing Rebecca was devastating enough, but learning her mother had been murdered was incomprehensible. Sophia struggled to reconcile the loving family she thought she knew with the nightmare unraveling around her. Detective Bennett considered Sophia both a key witness and a potential suspect. Sophia had been home the morning of Rebecca's death, but her alibi seemed airtight. Phone records and surveillance footage from Ravenwood University confirmed she had been studying late into the night at the campus library before returning home to sleep. Yet the investigators couldn't ignore the possibility that Sophia might have unwittingly played a role in the crime. Sophia's relationship with Ethan came under scrutiny. She described him as a kind and supportive stepfather, but friends noted Ethan's behavior toward her had become increasingly inappropriate in recent months. Subtle advances, lingering touches, and overly personal comments hinted at a darker side of Ethan's intentions. These revelations added a disturbing new dimension to the investigation. As Sophia grappled with her grief, she began recalling small, unsettling details about Ethan's behavior in the days leading up to her mother's death. He had seemed unusually cheerful, almost relieved, and had made cryptic comments about starting fresh. Sophia shared these observations with Detective Bennett, who saw them as potential clues. The weight of suspicion surrounding Ethan grew heavier, but the investigation was far from over. New evidence and testimonies continued to emerge, each piece of the puzzle leading closer to the truth. For Sophia, the nightmare was just beginning. The man she had trusted as a father figure might have harbored dark intentions, and the full scope of the tragedy was yet to be revealed. Detective Eleanor Hayes couldn't ignore the unease that lingered over Ravenwood. The quaint town had been the backdrop of countless family memories, but Lillian Harper's murder exposed the fractures beneath its charming facade. The investigation gained traction when Hayes decided to dig deeper into Daniel Harper's past. His polished demeanor hid a troubled history of failed relationships and financial mismanagement. Bank records revealed Daniel had recently drained a joint savings account he shared with Lillian, transferring the funds to an offshore account. The move raised questions about his motivations. Was he planning to flee? As Hayes pored over the documents, she noticed something chilling, a series of transactions linked to an online chemical supplier known for selling cyanide under false pretenses. Meanwhile, the forensic team discovered traces of cyanide on the tea kettle's spout, confirming the poison had been administered directly into Lillian's morning tea. This revelation pointed to someone with intimate knowledge of her routine. The discovery sent shockwaves through the Harper household, especially for Sophia, who found herself questioning everything she thought she knew about her family. As Hayes prepared to confront Daniel, she received an anonymous tip from a Ravenwood resident. The caller claimed to have seen Daniel meeting with a mysterious woman at a local diner weeks before Lillian's death. Surveillance footage corroborated the tip, showing Daniel in a heated discussion with an unknown blonde woman. Who was she, and how did she fit into the puzzle? The town began buzzing with rumors. Friends and neighbors who once idolized the Harpers now whispered about Daniel's potential guilt. Hayes knew she was close to unraveling the truth, but also understood that the case's darkest secrets had yet to emerge. Sophia Harper struggled to navigate the emotional chaos that followed her mother's death. The once bright college student was consumed by grief, anger, and confusion. Late one evening, while sorting through Lillian's belongings, Sophia stumbled upon a hidden journal tucked inside an old jewelry box. What she found within its pages would change everything. The journal detailed Lillian's growing suspicions about Daniel. She had written about his distant behavior, late-night phone calls, and unexplained absences. One entry, dated 2 weeks before her death, read, "I'm starting to wonder if I can trust Daniel at all. He's not the man I thought I married." The words sent chills down Sophia's spine. As she continued reading, Sophia discovered references to a woman named Vanessa. Lillian suspected Daniel was having an affair and had been gathering evidence to confront him. The journal also included a cryptic note. "If anything happens to me, look at Daniel. He's hiding something." Sophia immediately handed the journal over to Detective Hayes, who recognized its significance. The entries painted a picture of a woman trapped in fear, trying to protect her daughter while unraveling her husband's deceit. The mention of Vanessa gave Hayes a new lead to pursue. Sophia, determined to uncover the truth, began her own investigation. She combed through family photos, phone records, and emails, desperate to piece together the puzzle. Her efforts paid off when she discovered an email from Daniel to an address linked to Vanessa. The message was brief but incriminating. "It's almost done. We'll be free soon." The discovery deepened Sophia's resolve. Her father's betrayal was no longer a suspicion, but a horrifying reality. With the journal and email as evidence, Hayes prepared to confront Daniel. The walls were closing in, but the story was far from over. Detective Hayes tracked down Vanessa, whose full name was revealed to be Vanessa Clark, a 38-year-old freelance graphic designer living 2 towns over. Vanessa initially denied knowing Daniel, but when confronted with the surveillance footage and email evidence, her facade crumbled. Vanessa admitted to being in a relationship with Daniel for over a year. She claimed he had confided in her about his unhappy marriage and his desire to start a new life. According to Vanessa, Daniel portrayed Lillian as controlling and manipulative, a narrative Hayes found unconvincing given Lillian's reputation in Ravenwood. What Vanessa didn't expect was Hayes' revelation about Lillian's murder. The mention of cyanide visibly shook her. Vanessa insisted she had no knowledge of Daniel's plans, describing herself as a pawn in his larger scheme. "He told me he'd take care of everything," she sobbed during her interview. "I didn't know he meant this." Hayes wasn't convinced of Vanessa's innocence. Her proximity to Daniel and knowledge of his financial dealings made her a critical piece of the puzzle. A search warrant for Vanessa's apartment uncovered receipts for wire transfers, gifts, and handwritten notes from Daniel, many of which hinted at their plans to start fresh. Despite her claims of ignorance, Vanessa's involvement deepened the complexity of the case. Was she truly unaware of Daniel's intentions, or was she complicit in his plot? Hayes pressed on, determined to uncover whether Vanessa was a victim or an accomplice. The line between guilt and innocence blurred as new evidence emerged, pulling Hayes further into the tangled web of lies. The case against Daniel Harper continued to build. Investigators unearthed damning evidence, including a receipt for cyanide purchased under a fake name. The supplier confirmed the order had been shipped to a P.O. box registered to Daniel. Fingerprints on the tea kettle matched his, and his internet search history left no doubt about his knowledge of the poison's effects. Forensic teams detailed their process analyzing remnants of tea, swabbing surfaces, and identifying the deliberate tampering of the kettle's spout. As Hayes compiled the evidence, she noticed a chilling pattern. Daniel had meticulously planned every detail, from the poison's procurement to the timeline of Lillian's death. His emails to Vanessa hinted at his motive: greed and obsession. By eliminating Lillian, Daniel stood to inherit her life insurance policy and gain unrestricted access to their shared assets. Meanwhile, Sophia became a beacon of resilience. Despite her grief, she provided Detective Hayes with critical insights into her family's dynamics. Sophia also recalled subtle but unsettling details about Daniel's behavior in the days leading up to her mother's death, cryptic comments about starting fresh, and a disturbingly cheerful demeanor. The realization that she had been living with a man capable of such cruelty left Sophia shaken. As the community reeled from Daniel's arrest, they grappled with the betrayal of a man they had once trusted. Vigils for Lillian turned into rallies for justice, with neighbors and friends expressing outrage and heartbreak. Ravenwood's tight-knit community would never be the same, but they rallied behind Sophia and Detective Hayes, determined to honor Lillian's memory by uncovering the full truth. On September 29, 2023, Detective Hayes and her team arrived at Daniel Harper's office with an arrest warrant in hand. The sunny afternoon in Ravenwood contrasted sharply with the grim task at hand. Daniel's co-workers watched in stunned silence as officers led him away in handcuffs, his once confident demeanor replaced with quiet resignation. The arrest sent shockwaves through Ravenwood. News outlets covered the story extensively, and residents gathered in disbelief outside the police station. How could someone they had trusted be capable of such a heinous act? For Sophia, the moment was bittersweet. Seeing her stepfather arrested brought a sense of closure, but the pain of her mother's loss remained. During his interrogation, Daniel maintained his innocence. He claimed the evidence was circumstantial and painted himself as a victim of a witch hunt. However, Hayes' team had prepared meticulously. The journal, emails, receipts, and fingerprints formed an airtight case. Each piece of evidence contradicted Daniel's claims, exposing the web of lies he had spun. Vanessa Clark was brought in for questioning once more. Her testimony, combined with the physical evidence, painted a damning picture of Daniel's manipulation and deceit. While Vanessa's role in the crime remained unclear, her cooperation further solidified the case against Daniel. As the community grappled with the shocking events, Hayes focused on preparing for the trial. She knew the road ahead would be long, but her determination to honor Lillian's memory kept her resolute. The arrest marked a turning point, but the true test of justice was yet to come. The trial of Daniel Harper commenced on November 15, 2023, at the Ravenwood County Courthouse. The courtroom was packed with reporters, residents, and those who had once admired Daniel. The air buzzed with anticipation as both sides presented their opening statements. For Detective Eleanor Hayes, it was a culmination of months of tireless work. The prosecution, led by District Attorney Michael Grant, painted a chilling picture of premeditation and greed. Using evidence meticulously gathered by Hayes' team, Grant outlined how Daniel had plotted Lillian's murder to gain access to her life insurance policy and pursue a life with Vanessa Clark. The prosecution's star witnesses included Sophia Harper and Vanessa, whose testimonies were instrumental in exposing Daniel's motives. Sophia's testimony was particularly emotional. She described her mother's final days, the hidden journal, and the email that revealed Daniel's betrayal. Her bravery moved the courtroom, reinforcing the prosecution's narrative. Vanessa's testimony, though tinged with regret, highlighted Daniel's manipulation and deceit. The evidence of financial transactions and his cyanide purchase left the jury visibly unsettled. Daniel's defense team attempted to cast doubt on the evidence. They argued that the financial transactions were unrelated to the crime and that the cyanide purchase was coincidental. They also painted Vanessa as an unreliable witness, claiming she fabricated her story to protect herself. However, the mountain of evidence, including the journal, surveillance footage, and forensic findings, made it difficult to sway the jury. As the trial unfolded, the community of Ravenwood watched closely. The trial was more than a pursuit of justice. It was a reckoning for the betrayal of trust that had shaken the town to its core. With each testimony and piece of evidence, the weight of Daniel's guilt became increasingly undeniable. As the prosecution delved deeper into its case, new revelations emerged that added more layers to the story. A forensic analysis of Daniel Harper's laptop revealed a detailed plan to stage Lillian's death as a natural occurrence. The files contained step-by-step instructions on mixing cyanide with tea, disposing of evidence, and creating an alibi. These files, titled Plan B, left little doubt about his intentions. Further scrutiny of Daniel's bank records revealed payments made to a private investigator, hired months before Lillian's death. The investigator was tasked with monitoring Lillian and Sophia, raising questions about Daniel's true motives. When asked to testify, the investigator revealed that Daniel had requested detailed reports on Lillian's habits, her daily routine, and her interactions with neighbors. These chilling revelations solidified the prosecution's argument that the murder was meticulously planned. Sophia, still reeling from her stepfather's betrayal, discovered another disturbing piece of evidence. While sorting through old photo albums, she found a hidden envelope containing a handwritten letter from Daniel to Vanessa. In the letter, Daniel described his frustrations with Lillian and his longing to start over without complications. The letter was dated just 2 weeks before Lillian's death. The revelation sent shockwaves through the courtroom. The jury watched intently as the prosecution presented the evidence, each piece painting a darker picture of Daniel's psyche. For Detective Hayes, these discoveries were bittersweet. While they strengthened the case against Daniel, they also highlighted the depth of his betrayal. The once respected member of Ravenwood was now unrecognizable as the sinister figure unveiled by the trial. As the trial progressed, Daniel Harper's defense team struggled to counter the overwhelming evidence against him. Their initial strategy of discrediting witnesses and framing the evidence as circumstantial began to falter. The journal, emails, surveillance footage, and forensic findings were too compelling to dismiss. Vanessa Clark's testimony proved particularly damaging. Under cross-examination, the defense attempted to paint her as a scorned lover seeking revenge, but Vanessa remained composed. She admitted her involvement with Daniel, but maintained that she had no knowledge of his murderous intentions. Her cooperation with law enforcement and the consistency of her statements left little room for doubt. The defense also called character witnesses in an attempt to salvage Daniel's reputation. Former colleagues described him as hardworking and dedicated, while neighbors spoke of his charm and charisma. However, these testimonies were overshadowed by the evidence of his calculated actions. The turning point came when the prosecution played a recording of a phone conversation between Daniel and Vanessa, intercepted during the investigation. In the recording, Daniel referred to Lillian as an obstacle and assured Vanessa that their future together was within reach. The damning audio shattered any remaining illusions about Daniel's innocence. As the defense team scrambled to recover, the prosecution delivered a powerful closing argument. District Attorney Grant reminded the jury of Lillian's humanity, her love for her family, and the betrayal she had suffered at the hands of her husband. He urged the jury to see through Daniel's facade and deliver justice for Lillian and Sophia. On December 12, 2023, after 2 days of deliberation, the jury returned with a unanimous verdict: guilty on all charges, including first-degree murder and conspiracy. The courtroom fell silent as the foreperson read the decision. For Sophia Harper, the verdict was both a relief and a bittersweet moment. Justice had been served, but the void left by her mother's death could never be filled. Judge Margaret Collins addressed the court, condemning Daniel's actions as an egregious betrayal of trust and humanity. She sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The sentence was met with quiet applause from the gallery, where Lillian's friends and supporters had gathered. Outside the courthouse, the town of Ravenwood began to process the trial's conclusion. Reporters interviewed residents, capturing their reactions to the verdict. Many expressed relief that justice had been served but acknowledged the lingering scars left by the case. The trial had exposed the fragility of trust and the darkness that could hide behind even the most charming exteriors. For Detective Hayes, the verdict marked the end of one chapter, but not the journey. She reflected on the resilience of Sophia and the importance of pursuing justice, no matter how painful the path. Hayes knew the case would leave a lasting impact on Ravenwood, serving as a cautionary tale for years to come. In the months following the trial, Sophia Harper began the difficult process of rebuilding her life. Losing her mother and discovering the depths of her stepfather's betrayal left emotional scars that would take years to heal. Sophia took a semester off from school to focus on her mental health, supported by friends, family, and professional counselors. She often found comfort in the memories of her mother, especially their weekend tea rituals and long conversations about Sophia's dreams of becoming a doctor. The community of Ravenwood rallied around Sophia, offering support in countless ways. Local businesses organized fundraisers to establish the Lillian Harper Foundation, a charity dedicated to supporting victims of domestic violence and promoting mental health awareness. The foundation quickly became a symbol of Lillian's enduring legacy, helping families in need and reminding the town of the kindness she had always shown. Detective Eleanor Hayes received commendations for her relentless pursuit of justice. Her meticulous investigation ensured Lillian's voice was not silenced, and she became a hero in Ravenwood. Hayes often reflected on the case, knowing it was one of the most emotionally charged of her career. Vanessa Clark, though not charged with any crimes, faced her own challenges. The trial had tarnished her reputation, forcing her to leave her town and start anew. She expressed remorse for her role in the events and worked to rebuild her life, while vowing never to repeat the mistakes of her past. For Ravenwood, the memory of Lillian Harper remained a bittersweet reminder of the fragility of trust. The case became a cautionary tale, discussed in hushed tones but serving as a source of strength for the community. As time passed, Sophia returned to school, determined to fulfill her mother's dream of becoming a doctor. Her resilience inspired others, proving that even in the face of unimaginable loss, it was possible to move forward with hope and determination. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the haunting case of Lillian Harper. From the quaint streets of Ravenwood to the courtroom revelations, we've uncovered the chilling depths of betrayal, obsession, and justice. Lillian's story reminds us that even in the most serene places, darkness can lurk beneath the surface. It's a tale of resilience, of a community coming together to honor her memory, and of a daughter finding the strength to rebuild her life despite unimaginable loss. If this case left you as captivated as it did us, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another story from Silent Crime Case. We dive deep into mysteries and crimes that demand to be heard, piecing together the silence and the secrets. What are your thoughts on this case? Could anything have been done differently to prevent such a tragedy? Let us know in the comments below, and feel free to share your theories. We value your insights and love hearing from our community of crime enthusiasts. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and remember, every silence has a story. This is Silent Crime Case, signing off.